Alright guys, so let's talk about Faction Wars. If you are basically tuning in later, it is good to know that this video is part of a playlist which is called Beginner Series 2023-2024. There are a lot of resources in that playlist regarding beginners, all the way from day 1 to conquering normal tower to almost conquering fatal tower in the 35th day. So it's pretty interesting. In case you want to learn something more about the beginner's life in MK Mobile, you're free to check the playlist as well after the end of this video. Now, first thing first, today the most important topic and the only topic we're going to discuss is Faction Wars. We'll be talking about what you should be aiming at as a beginner, we'll be talking about the store, and we'll be talking about your general strategy in Faction Wars. First thing that I want to mention is the Faction Wars store, starting from the equipment. Now, the equipment in this particular store isn't incredible. There are still good pieces. For instance, the Bloody Voodoo Doll is decent, as you can see. It gives resource power cost, it gives a 5% damage boost in Faction Wars, and it gives 25% power generation boost maxed out. The Bloody Tomahawk is decent, the Devastator is okay, the Shadow Sash is good, but at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that the gear in this particular store is kind of outdated. As you can see, in many occasions you're going to see, for instance, like the Bloody Voodoo Doll, it gives you damage boost which only works in Faction Wars. The problem with that is that Faction Wars currently is the most outdated game mode. It doesn't really give you a lot of great rewards, especially for beginners, with one exception, and we're going to talk about it later. So at the end of the day, what I'm trying to suggest here is that in the beginning, in the very first weeks, months in MK Mobile, it's not really worth to invest on equipment because none of these pieces is particularly incredible. I mean, once again, they are good pieces, but not game changer, not at all. Instead, what you should be aiming at is characters, 2 characters in specific. You need to have Classic Ermac, at least 1 copy. If you don't get him from the Classic pack, you can get him here. So he's going basically for 1600 rubies. However, again, for Classic Ermac, all you require is 1 copy, you don't have to fuse him. This is not the case for Classic Scorpion though. Classic Scorpion is a godly character. The moment you know how to use him, you more or less cannot get killed unless there are a lot of bad circumstances, but in the general case goes like this. If you know how to use Classic Scorpion, then you'll never get hit and you're going to destroy the enemy. Classic Scorpion is more or less good on any team. He's a plug and play character and he's extremely useful even at low fusion. However, this is one of the easiest characters to max out thanks to the fact that you can buy him for rubies. And that's the key word. You can buy Classic Scorpion for rubies and he can carry your account. Currently, this particular beginner account that I started is 36 days old, and you can see I'm in Fatal Tower Battle 190. Again, 36 days old and Battle 190 Fatal. And do you know which character is carrying my account? It is Classic Scorpion. So definitely Classic Scorpion is one of the characters that is absolutely worth investing in early. And which is the place where you can actually obtain him? The first place, of course, is the Classic pack. The problem with that, it's totally 100% RNG. He has 5% chance to drop. So if he drops, amazing. But if he doesn't drop, then it is a problem. On average, you can get him once every 20 pulls. So that's really not a lot. However, if you go to the Faction Wars store, you can purchase him more or less guaranteed as long as you have the rubies. And this is the next thing that I want to talk about. We already established that the equipment is the second priority. The first priority is to get 1 copy of Ermac. The second priority of Faction War store is to max out Classic Scorpion and then focus on the equipment. However, the consumables, you just can't forget about their existence. They are not really worth. The only consumable that is kind of worth is the common and the uncommon repair pieces. I mean, again, the common and the uncommon. Both are not really super useful, but I guess in certain situations, if you really need to repair a rare piece, or let's say uncommon piece, then probably just maybe you can purchase it once or twice, but the general cases, avoid the consumables in the Faction Wars store. You don't really require that. And now let's talk about Faction Wars in general, what you should be doing. Currently, as you can see, once again, this account is 36 days old, and I have almost 1.7 million Faction Wars points. How I achieved that? Basically, I did 2 hard runs. where I was using one strong character, Classic Scorpion, and two characters that are giving very, very good bonuses. So in a way, I completed 2 hard runs, and this resulted in having 1.7 million points. Now, you don't really want to try super hard in Faction Wars if it's taking a lot of your time. However, it is always worth trying to rank as high as possible. And why is that? Because you need to gain as much rubies as possible in the end of the season. Currently, I don't know whether I'll be able to hold my contender of 1, but even if I fail, then I'll be kind of okay with Combatant Elite. Still though, I will do my best to still rank in Contender 1. It's going to be difficult because I don't really have a lot of cards. Once again, this account is less than 40 days old, but I will do my best to stay in Contender 1. Even if I fall to Combatant Elite, it's not going to be the end of the world. But what I'm trying to say is your main goal in the Faction Wars is to gain as many points, Faction Wars points, so that you can get as many rubies. Of course, the extra character is always useful, but you need to gain the rubies, because at the end of the day, you can transform those rubies into a copy of Classic Scorpion, and that's super important, because once again, Classic Scorpion is the character that can carry your account. When it comes to the Kobujutsu Tanya, she isn't really amazing. I would definitely advise you to max her last. The same applies for Classic Sub-Zero. In fact, it doesn't really matter which one you max last, Classic Sub-Zero or Kobujutsu Tanya. They're both not really performing amazing. Granted, if you are able to max out Classic Sub-Zero Special 2, you will kind of perform better. But the problem with the Kobujutsu Tanya is that her passive works in Faction Wars, which once again is one of the, actually not one, it is the worst, absolute worst game mode when it comes to rewards. You can play tons of time in Faction Wars, spend tons of time in Faction Wars, and at the end of the day you can get a gold character, which is super underwhelming. And of course, in order to rank super high in Faction Wars, you need to have a great team. If you're a beginner, you won't be able to rank in Champion. If you're a beginner, you won't be able to rank in Grandmaster, Legend, you name it. You can probably go to Contender 1, or if you have very useful teams and some very strong teams, probably just maybe you can rank the Champion, which is going to be highly unlikely. Probably after 2 or 3 months it's possible, but in the first 1 or 2 months, Contender 1 or Contender 2 will be the best you can achieve. And once again, if you want to go there, remember that you're doing it for the rubies. You don't really care about the small chance to get a diamond. Look at this. If I score 400,000 more Faction Wars points, I will have 1% chance to get MK11 Noob, 3% chance to get Jax, 3% Gore, and 3% Raiden. So that's around 10% chance. Actually, not 10, around, it is 10% chance sharp. So in a way, in other words, I have to rank in Contender 2 10 times in order to get 1 diamond. And ranking at Contender 2 currently it's not really super easy. The first 1.7 million points were easy because I used my 2 strongest cards, but currently I don't have a lot of other golds that can carry me. I do have MK11 Scorpion, so I will do my best to gain probably 100,000 points more, but it's going to be super rough to get to 2 million, or let's say 2.5 million. It's going to be very difficult. What I'm saying is that the first 1.7 million didn't take a lot of efforts because I used my strongest teams. But now, if I want to go further, if I want to gain another 1.7 million, it's going to take a lot of time because I will have to play with my weakest characters. This will involve a lot of dying. Probably my runs in survival mode will not be ending pretty cool for me. So I have to go to quick mode and then farm quick mode like on auto combat. So what I'm saying is that at a certain point it's getting pointless to keep grinding because all of your good characters are getting exhausted and cannot be used. Alright guys, so I hope you found this video useful. If you did, consider subscribing to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and once again you can check the playlist where you can find a lot of resources about being a beginner in MK Mobile. Have an amazing rest of your day guys. Take care.